So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy that you are all here with us. Many of you are students from Politecnico di Milano, and some of you are my student of Business and Industrial Economic course. But there are also manager, top executives, and whatever. So there are many alumni of Politecnico di Milano School of Management. So welcome everybody. I'm very happy and very proud to to open this seminar and introduce you Professor Claudia Colicchia. Professor Colicchia is an associate professor. She's an expert in logistics in general, but more importantly, for the aim of this seminar, Claudia is an expert in risk management in supply chain and logistics. She joined us very recently because she was before in England and at Hull University. And we must say that we are very happy that she joined our school with her competence, and also she's a very nice person and a pleasant colleague. Then it's also a pleasure to introduce you Luca Saporetti. Luca is an engineer. She graduated in management engineer some years ago. And most importantly now is vice president for global supply chain at LivaNovia. And then he will introduce you he will introduce him to you in a while. So they will speak about this issue, this document, which they produced together. And Luca also will report you about how this document was developed. This is a document reporting some best practices for reducing the risk of the spread of COVID-19 in logistics and in supply chain. So this is very timely and very important because Luca, Claudia, but in a very bottom-up approach that Luca will describe you soon, they develop this document providing some best practice which help people operating in supply chain and logistics to reduce the risk created by coronavirus. And this is very important because supply chain and logistics is one of the backbone which allow us to fight against the virus. So I will leave them the floor immediately because I do not want to stall space to them. But before doing this, I want to shortly report you about an initiative of MIP. MIP has recently launched crowdfunding campaign to support this hospital, Santi Paolo and Carlo Hospital in Milan. This is an hospital which is real in the front line in the fighting against coronavirus. And I mean, also, this is a crowdfunding campaign. We aim to mobilize our community for collecting funds for supporting the hospital. Money will be given every evening to the hospital and will be used to buy things that help to fight, so medical equipment or a face mask or things like this. So let's start with our seminar. I give the floor to Luca, who can report you more about the supply chain and logistics management club of this is one of our alumni club, and Luca can also tell you more of how this document has been developed. So thank you very much for all of you being here, and I leave the floor to Luca. I switch my camera on, off, and also my microphone, so we avoid background noise. Thank you very much. Luca, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Cristina. Just some background. After the Politecnico, I have studied to MIT, and when I studied to MIT, I think that there was nothing more that I learned in MIT that I didn't learn in Politecnico of Milan. The only missing was the alumni community. There it was very strong. So I come back and then discuss with a couple of friends. It was Andrea Rangone, Alessandro Perga, and so on about this. In the meantime, Azzone became a director and it was launched the alumni. So we just launched the alumni. Alumni is a free association where senior supply chain leader they meet basically every 6 months, and we just select topics. And we do a couple of presentations that are not marketing. There is no any marketing. There is no any distribution of the documents. So really free of any company politician. And inside there are a lot of very strong competence. I think that really most of the important supply chain director or VP or senior director are in that club. How this is linked to this document? Every community can create value, and in particular when there is something that is special, a special team that is a not free team can create really a special value. So one night I was just thinking in my best practice, I manage in global supply chain and I have so many warehouses that I was just saying that what are the best in practice to reduce the COVID effect in my warehouse. And then I had a document that I was sharing in any part of the world. After this, I say, but guy, this is very stupid. How many people, how many Luca Saporetti are working in the same way around? So we just set up a WhatsApp group, and there was Politecnico di Milano, there was the alumni, there was Luke, there was Assologistica, there was OTC. So there was most of the president of leader the association, and then we share. We start sharing the simple best practice that we have developed, and everyone has add some part. So, for example, I recognized Paolo Pillona, and he had a couple of points, and a lot of people like Marco Rodaelli that just joined the call has also had some point. So we arrived to a document that we summarize the best in class. What it was interesting is that this document we presented of the LinkedIn for the first time, and we have that more than 30,000 download or view. After this, we started to present this, and then the request was not only in Italy, but then it went in Europe, and then it went worldwide. So I think that personally, I did more than a presentation to more than 30,000 people and more than 38 countries. Something complex? No, absolutely. It's not something complex. What is interesting is that is it something that is Italian style? So it was built up by Italy, is used in a lot of the location, and also in the same time is still the best practice. Sometimes we add some point, but is still the best practice. So that's what alumni is for. And thanks for the contribution. And what's how the document has been generated, like a good example of share economy. Claudia?
Thank you, Luca. Thank you. So it's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you for your introduction. Just a few words about what we will do today in this webinar. So I will start just with a brief introduction to the theme just to pinpoint some key ideas underlying what logistics has to do with everything that is going on in this emergency. And this will also lead to understand the reasons leading to this great initiative that Luca just mentioned. I will then be followed by Luca, who will go deeper into the details of the best practices in logistics initiative. And then at the end, just for all of you to know, there will be an opportunity for question and answers and discuss more about
Roberto Villa
is now joining.
I will share the presentation now. So let's start with just a brief introduction about the role of logistics in a massively connected world. So we are living in this world characterized by complex and tightly integrated connections among businesses. And this coronavirus has become all pervasive and is disrupting demand as much as supply. So it's not just a supply side problem, but it's also a demand side issue. And in this time of emergency and crisis, we often hear people talking about logistics. And a statement that recurs in every announcement, it's the one that I reported in this chart. It's all about logistics. Without it, the country stops. And this is really the role of logistics. In this critical global health crisis, logistics actually plays a critical role also in saving lives, whether it is by sending emergency medical equipment and supplies to healthcare workers or delivering necessity goods to private customers, or by finding a solution for companies to continue their operations. Okay. However, this is not an easy task. So COVID-19 is hitting companies like a bullwhip. And according to a theory that we study a lot in the university, we know that a crisis like the one that we are experiencing is generating an immense bullwhip effect, in which we have a surge in demand for some goods that is generating a tsunami, if you want to call it that way, backwards in the supply chain of orders, which can be only partially addressed relying on safety stock. On the other hand, we have for some other products the fact that retailers see less demand for customers, they order less from wholesalers, who order less from manufacturers, and so on and so on. So we have this unpredictable, complex and unstable demand, and being informed and agile enough to forecast and fulfill inventories, a way that companies need to pursue to cope with this kind of emergency. So the thing is that, okay, we teach and learn about this bullwhip effect in our logistics courses here at Politecnico di Milano, and some of my students will learn about this in just a couple of sessions, but also all around the world. But to see this in real life is another thing. So if it is true that this is a well-known and studied effect, do we have a plan, or why has such an effect found companies so substantially unprepared? So there could be many reasons. One of the main one is that traditional risk management initiatives are focused on those kind of risks which are characterized by a high probability of occurrence and a high impact. And it is difficult to plan a series of investments and a series of risk mitigation intervention in the supply chain for a global crisis like the one we are experiencing. And the COVID-19 pandemic is a typical example of what is called the black swans. So those risks characterized by low probability of occurrence but very high impact. It is difficult to prepare for these kind of events because nobody gets credit for fixing problems that never happened, in case they do not happen. But if they do happen, actually, a huge benefit can be achieved. I just reported here an interesting article. This is from the Time magazine, and it was published in 2017. Okay, and it's talking about a pandemic like the one we are experiencing today. And the warning was we are not ready for the next pandemic. And I mean, it describes something very similar to what that is going on now. So should we have proactively planned and be prepared for these kind of issues? So again, the problem is that we need to be prepared, we need to be resilient to be able to cope with this kind of black swans events. So how can logistics adapt now their operation to mitigate potential impacts of the global COVID-19 outbreak? So my suggestion, and also I think a little bit Luca's suggestion, is to start with people, okay? People are a critical resource of a logistics system. A logistics system can only work effectively and efficiently with human resources. And because a logistics system is actually made up of people who, through their activities carried out in different areas, which include physical, information processes, and infrastructure, generate economic and social value. So the welfare and safety of employees is paramount. Okay. The other thing is that logistics in general sometimes is seen as just a support function, and the role of logistics is not so so stressed in other when this kind of emergency is not going on. And also logistics workers are the unsung heroes in today's economy, because they are ensuring that hospitals, supermarkets, as well as manufacturing, and also our homes have the product they need when they need them. And all these people can play a key role, including truck drivers, forklift drivers, pickers, all operational roles, also people working for process coordination, planning and strategy, quality control, transportation planning, maintenance. So it is important for any company to have as the #1 priority the well-being of employees and supply chain partners. And this is why it's so important to have some measures to be introduced at local level. This is not a simple task, but it is mandatory for companies for responding also to the immediate challenges posed by the COVID-19 emergency. To conclude my brief introduction, I reported here an approach proposed by McKinsey, the 5 R's to emerge in a new normal. And this is just to say that the measures to introduce measures for safeguarding the safety and well-being of employees should be actually the starting point and the foundation of a well-rounded approach to return the business back to scale as quick as possible, having resilience as a first step after resolving the most immediate problems. To achieve resilience, speed in developing and sharing best practices, that is what we did, and discipline in adopting them are key to achieve better end-to-end resilience. So these are, according to McKinsey, from a strategic perspective, the 5 R's to emerge in a new normal, if you want. However, this should be based on operational approaches to be clearly implemented. And this is here, and this is why, we are here to talk about these mentioned best practices in logistics that could be the answer for surviving in these challenging times and the springboard for restarting businesses' operation after the emergency. So now it's my pleasure to hand over to Luca for going to the best practices. So Luca, I leave to you. Luca, sorry, your microphone is off.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so okay, so as I mentioned, and as I learned from my best CEO, simple idea and very good execution make the difference. So when we develop this, we just try to split in the management of the warehouse. So really the warehouse, the people in the warehouse with attention to the people, then the truck, the driver, and then instead more generic, the supply chain and the prevention. And then there is another point that I'm really like this is what to do. There is something special in this. Around in Italy, we have around 1.5 million people working in logistics in all the kind of environment. So if we just try to apply this, we can really make the difference in the save life. What is funny is that when you say that the theory is everything simple, when you just check the warehouse, there are a lot of opportunity of improvement. So I will say the document is the best practice collected by Politecnico, LIUC, ONT, SC alumni, and over than 100 supply chain global director. Why we have exactly say this? Because we had an experience in China. Really, we had an experience in China, but we miss this. We absolutely miss. We didn't receive a document from them like this, like we don't receive from them a document by the healthy. So what we like is share, apply very well in Italy, and then perhaps in Italy we have a good idea, but in terms of implementation, we can absolutely improve and just share and distribute this. I make an example. I was discussing this, or basically a person from Jamaica downloaded the document from the LinkedIn, exactly the same document that you see. And she downloaded the document around 10 days ago. And yesterday she sent me a very nice email and he said that 2 persons in his warehouse was in the hospital in a very serious acquisition. So what is the issue is that the people that are far from the virus doesn't understand how the preventive measures are important. So it's 1.5 million people in Italy. Just think how much is globally, and just think when we saw China, how we didn't do nothing in advance. So one of the key points is when you see exactly this, try to apply to save your life, and try also to give to your friend from the other part of the world that today seems to be free from the virus. If it could be useful or not, I apply very with a lot of discipline this management. I have more than 120 warehouses around the world in my company. And fortunately or luckily, I don't know, but I would like exactly to say that is both. I've never had one case of the virus internally. We were very tough, absolutely. I'm generally a very democratic manager, giving support for the people, created demand. No, for did no. For did I was very a dictatorial, like a tyrannic person, in order to have everything apply and no description for the field. So looking for the document is, the first is segregate the activity in the warehouse. So obviously the receiving and shipping is also dependent what part of the warehouse you are shipping are the more risky part. If you just split 100% this from the storage, peak, or the fulfillment, you reduce the risk around 70%. It's simple, not at all, like how it's working. Okay, the people that receive the goal arrive, left the pallet, and then another people pick up the pallet and bring. This decrease the productivity, but make a lot of different activity. Obviously, we have to keep the people separate 100%, because if you mix this for any other reason, you will lose this. Obviously, now this is very simple in Italy. The people should have all the kind of protective measures, so they have the mask and the disposable. It's not by default. A president of one of the most important this retail in Italy, I think that is in the number of 1 or 3, asked me to check in their central city, and then I went there, and really it was they have, but they didn't use exactly this. It's also very, very useful to have a wash, to have a place where they can wash their hand every time that they enter and exit with some other people. Then very, very simple, like in the hospital. If you go now in the hospital, I don't want that you go, but if you have some chair, you have to put one chair yes and one chair not, some separation element, so the people cannot touch your reception. So 1 meter barrier. This is helping to reduce the virus. Going on, if there is a waiting room, yes, with some seat in one seat yes and one seat no, you say that for your safety, not sit here. This by default avoid the people to sit. Then instead, obviously, when someone arrive and pick up or loading some machine, they should have the mask. If they don't have, you have to give them or refuse to accept the load. This seems brutal, but this creates a virtual loop, because the driver are, according to the Health Association, one of the most people that attach the virus. So just give them a mask. If they don't, if you don't have, they have to go in the other part. Some best-in-class company also organize a box where the driver leave the document, and they sign this after. It's possible, and you work with big warehouse. I have one that is more than 500 people. Try to work with the shift that they are not, they are very isolated. So don't mix the people in the shift. So if you have one issue, one shift, you can use the other. So you protect your company, but also you protect also the other people. It's also very interesting that when the shift enter, they don't enter in the same time, but you do some shifting. So for example, in some big plant, I use one enter a quarter to 8, one enter 8, and one enter a quarter past 8, because the entering in the company is very, very important. Then check the body temperature of the worker. This we are doing regularly. Sometimes it becomes some legal to say, okay, this is legal, not legal, and so on. But just the reply is, guy, is to save the people in the warehouse, and plus is to save the person who has high temperature. If you just go on, is really must not exchange tool. We change forklift, we change barcode scanner. That should not be done. So we used to have everyone has his personal one, and in case we need to exchange, we must sanitize the part. But sanitize the part, not clean with the antibacterial, but do this in a professional way. Before starting and ending a shift, or also changing activity, we also write so for example, when they do the picking, every a picking order that they left, they have to wash, they end. Then it's very, very important. Avoid any unnecessary activity. It's very, very important. We are decreasing the probability to have a virus. To reduce this, we have to reduce what is not mandatory. So if you have inventory checks, if you have a project, if you have any other activities, not the right time. So it's stupid. We are everyone at home, but sometimes we are not doing the mandatory activity. This is the same when you do the shopping to the supermarket. It was with the most important Italian retail chain that the sourcing leader, he told me that this weekend the user has ordered 32% of product that was not mandatory. So this is not make sense because we increased 32% the transaction with the people. So really, when also you do the shopping, you have to stick to what is necessary. Every time that you pick up another product, you say exactly that you put one person life at risk. Then also make some sanitization cycle. You can do during the night, you can do during the work, not only the warehouse, but also in the office close to the warehouse. If you go to the supply chain and prevention meeting, okay, online meetings are also mandatory, but also you can also do, if you do the Gemba in the morning, the warehouse like the Toyota, you can do in putting one table in the middle, 1 meter of everyone from the table, and with the mask, so everyone cannot touch each other. The other point is increase the size of the replenishment order. If you double the replenishment of the order, there is, yes, more stock, that makes sense, but we reduced the number of travel for the we reduced by 50% the number of travel by the driver, and we reduced the number of picking by 50%. So really, this is a very, very important operation. Obviously, you have to be sure to not do in the critical component. Obviously, if there is a person with a flu or everything, should stay at home. Logistic people are incredible person. They are able to do every quarter. They are able to do the important. But the defect inside is that sometimes they would like to work also if they are not in the perfect shape. This we have to just go and avoid this. In particular, if they are working in the cooperative, so they are paid by hour. So obviously, if they don't come, you have to pay. In this case, in some situation, we have decided also to pay external person. Cooperative temporary worker. Introduce in your warehouse one person is a risk. It's a risk for productivity. It's a risk that you can close your warehouse. A big competitor for myself has closed the big warehouse last day of the quarter. It was terrible. Why? Because they have introduced 5 people, temporary people externally to do the quarter. I discussed this, and then we prefer with the people. The people say, I don't want to put myself and my family at risk, but I prefer to work 5 days more. And then if you need to enter someone, ask them to sign a declaration that in the past 14 days they were without any flu. Then priority is shipment. Where is shipment to food? Is shipment to hospital? Is shipment to who really need the good? I make an example. I make the distribution. 3 kinds of distribution. The first is a product that treats the virus, so like Inspari, ECMO, and obviously these are maximum priority. There is no way. These they are running 100%, and we delivery. Then the second is we have product that we distribute. We send it to a distributor This is second priority. And then we have product like HV that we send to hospital. And for this, we have reduced the production to really to nothing or very close to the demand to save our people, because save our people is my first responsibility. All the logistic department can work from home. Planning, customer service, 100% they can work. If I want to say that, okay, you need to pick up one printer, you can buy this. It costs 150 buy online. No car sharing, no payment on delivery. Cancel this form of payment. If is it allowed in your website, just cancel. And close all the canteen. This is very hard, but you can substitute this with deliver the meals directly to the warehouse and to the office. The last is monitor the application. Really, you are the leader. In the previous point, there is also remove the cafeteria. Basically, the machine of the coffee is one of the most risky one. And to just apply this is not simple. To just think you have to go in your warehouse and remove your coffee machine. You put the paper, don't use, and after 2 hours they will use. You have to remove the plug and they use. So really you have to be very, very hard on this. If you are a manager, you have to also be conscious that you reduce your productivity by 15-20%. So you have to take care the action in order to absorb these or have additional cost. Support the team. They can have someone with the coronavirus at home. I have had my little girl it was with a high temperature and breathing issue, and really was completely upsetting myself. So just ask exactly how they sense, how involve exactly that these actions are done first to protect themselves, then to protect their wage. That is also important. And also very, very proactive with all the communication, with all we are doing, with all the stakeholder, with the union, with everything. If you are working, the union are your friend, not your enemy as usual. Then, okay, what I can do is use this document, but use 100%. If you are using 95, okay, you are putting for 5% to one person on risk. And then if you also have a person that doesn't know outside Italy, you can just share this. Instead, if you have a best practice that is not there, just exchange with the team that we will integrate this. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Luca, for your presentation. I have some questions for you, and then maybe there will be other questions from the participants. So my first question is, what is, in your opinion, the set of best practices more difficult for companies to implement, and why, if there is a set of practices more difficult to implement? Are there any particular obstacles?
Yeah, first is a question of culture. I make my example in Germany. I have a plant in Munich, and then exactly we sent the procedure, and the execution was more than 100%. They only have one specific issue with the canteen. So in Italy itself, for me, is the execution to 100% execution. The second difficulty is when we have a lot of temporary people. So the cooperative, the point is that they are paid generally by transaction, so a cost by line ship and so on. So a partnership should be work. So obviously we say if they lose the productivity, you have to agree how to pay this extra cost, because they are also working for you. It's a partnership. So this could be involved also when there is, it cannot be that all the costs go to them, because also generally they don't do a lot of money.
And well, you mentioned that some of these best practices can affect also the level of productivity of employees and operation. In your opinion, how can really companies manage the trade-off between safety and speed or productivity?
For me, safe of the people is the first, because our people. Second, because really, if you can want to save some productivity, you have your warehouse off in a couple of days. It happened 1 week and a half or around 2 weeks ago, that a friend of the friend, that was Greg, he was the president for the supply chain for Walmart. He called me and he said, "Look, I have this document in my hand, and they told me that you have working on it. Can I do some question?" He do some question, and then I say, "Have you applied this?" And he say, "Oh, look, I have not applied this because it's something for me. It's cost like something like 10 million every week." And then after that we've discussed, I say, now I'm convinced I will apply. So obviously, is leadership when everything is working in the standard procedure are working. Where special event is working is real leader that are working. All the people that has passion, they care about their person. I say exactly in my presentation. I say I care more on my people that losing 12% of productivity, because if I have a warehouse breakdown, it will cost to the company a lot more. So also is as every time in the sustainability, in my experience, the 2 point are linked. On top of this, we have a social responsibility, because preventing, so if you say that around 1.5 million working in logistics, all the logistics are working on, so we are most of the people that can spread the virus. When every time around 6 o'clock, so in next 15 minutes, we will see exactly the data, and we say how many new spread people we will have. 3,000 tomorrow, today, or less. Then you say exactly that the logistic people can make the difference in apply exactly this, because it's 1.5 million people, and there are billion of people that are moving around, moving parcel, moving. So the risk behind is so high. And I have not seen anyone that taking the right measure has received pushback. Yeah, sure. After March, that the cost went up, someone says that how it's going up in this moment, but there is a good investment, they say, for your people.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. And how can companies, in your opinion, then identify the new normal when the emergency will be over? So how will the traditional practices in logistics change after the emergency, maybe for good? What do you think?
Well, this is a very good point. A lot of people are asking, is there a best practice for first moving back to the normal? And this is the first part that everyone is looking for. Then the second, for sure, everyone has learned something, and there are a lot of new say channel that okay, the commerce is spread out, and we will see exactly if it will come back or not. Or a lot of people have started and test a lot of new channel. So what it will come, we will see exactly. But the first is to prepare a scenario back to just come to their normality. The normality will be different from today. For sure, there is a good opportunity. I personally use a lot to do a lot of training. So it's really a lot of perfect moment to do training. When you do training you will generate at home. Exactly. So it's really perfect. Is a moment to build up the capacity. Is a moment to say exactly in this moment what is the priority. If you say Gartner, what to say in terms of priority, Gartner in the top priority is reducing the inventory. Everyone, all the friend that I know is that they are now trying to reduce inventory. Why? Because we don't know exactly what will happen to the demand. Also in some sector that is so we try exactly to reduce. And then I would say every sector that can swap more to a channel that if different from the physical is it can work on, but obviously will be declining company by company.
We have also a question from the participant. How do you manage the case of a supplier not being able to deliver what you expect? How do you manage the replacement of your suppliers not operating due to COVID-19?
This is a good question. So if I really struggle with shipping in India. So shipping in India or very strange location, as everyone is very, 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 very difficult. In this moment, is also depend of the kind of product. I split the product by mandatory products. So there are the like the also the product that are used to combat the virus. In this case, no way, and I found the transportation. Sometimes shipping in India by air freight, we pay double or 3 times what we pay as usual. Then obviously in some cases with a third party that was managing a small warehouse, we work a lot in advance in asking them to implement the best practice. So 100% we also monitor exactly them, and then we also close one smaller part with a smaller logistic provider, because after 3 days that we ask to use all the best practice, they will not work. Then obviously my on-time delivery is going down as everyone. So I have lost 3 percentage point. But generally, I'm most struggling with some supplier of raw material, and that they have a production that is shut down. This make me a little more complex my life.
And do you think that this situation will be an opportunity for companies to invest in automation for the logistics processes, since we are starting to hear about touchless or contactless logistics type of thing?
Okay, I think that in short term, no. In the long term, I always consider good investing in logistic. Obviously, it also should be a link with the volume fluctuation. So I have also some automatization in my warehouse, and in one case, this help me. In one case, it put me exactly in the trouble, because the pattern and the order and all the frequencies was completely different versus how the automatic warehouse was built up. So in that specific case, we were obliged to cut the warehouse and pick up from production and delivery. So as usual, if the logistic automatization is flexible, set up in the right node of the channel, where the consumption and the demand path can variation cannot solve by the technology, is absolutely good indication, and obviously can save the people. In the same time, obviously, it will be a little less flexible in this special opportunity.
And We have another question. Do you believe this experience will set up new standards in the supply chain risk management? Actually, this is what I was also asking. I was about to ask. So do you think that there will be a new supply chain model, like the combination of risk management, resilience, but also sustainability?
This was a question. I was invited in a web conference done by Prof. Levi Mink of MIT. And what was very interesting that he has developed a risk management model, very well done. And he's also teaching this model. So the reality today is that we selected the supplier also if we pay a couple of buckets less, very far from our production. We try to put our production very far, and everyone would like to reduce the working capital. So everyone is speaking about resilience in supply chain, safe, but in the same time, there is so much pressure on the cost in most of the industry. Obviously, there are some industry where it's different, or in industry or by the stock exchange, that these decisions are never well taken. So what will happen? I scare that in short term we will take some best decision, but we will be not so smart, and in 1 year we will continue to do the mistake that we are doing. Obviously, the inshore of the production trend is something that is started a couple of years ago, and it will continue. I remember that 20 years ago when I started to work on, everyone was putting production in China, in Romania. Now the trend is that the company is putting internally. So I think that we will speak a lot about risk management, but unfortunately, most of the operational supply chain leader, they will not have enough power to keep redundancy, to keep resilience. It will depend where the supply chain leader is sitting. If he's sitting under the CEO and he has the same power as the CFO, something can change. If he will report to the CEO and the CEO will report to the CFO, who report to the CEO, it will just change for a couple of quarters and just back to the opportunity. In terms of sustainability, I don't know. I think that sustainability in this case will not change, except that obviously if we have a more short supply chain, we can really have some benefit. But the result is that we are shipping more of the e-commerce. Regarding if shipping to e-commerce is saving CO2 or not, I have seen a lot of study that someone say yes, sometimes say not. So this we will see. In this moment, I think that we have to focus on implementing, sharing, and think to the next phase. Protecting working capital, really protecting working capital. I don't think that a lot of companies are working in the right direction. The cash will be the king. So who will protect the cash in next 3 months can do incredible acquisition. You see exactly the price of the company. It's the right time. If you have cash, you can buy at the discount price, average 35% less any other company in the market. So this is exactly the opportunity. And then is, in terms of sustainability, is a moment where you can create a different relation with your people. Sustainability for me is first with your people. So you can really look what they have in mind. If they have an issue with their parent Or, okay, if you have a person in the warehouse that he doesn't earn enough because he's a temporary, as I mentioned, and you help exactly him. You can make the difference on this. Or as a company, we did, but every company can do, you can do the difference in make a donation. But I don't think also the company, but everyone has to work on in this direction, and the opportunity is there. And then sharing knowledge. This is an example of sharing. A stupid question. 3 days ago, a doctor association, very important in Italy, they ask me the document, and I say, why you are asking the document? And then they are also asking, can you please explain us the document? And I explain. And why? Because basically, there is not a simple document how to recover. If I have to say how we would like to recover, I would like to do a test to everyone, to serological test. What kind of test I can do? If I do a serological test, what probability of B3 I have?
Is now
95,
joining.
95, 90. So exactly, if the doctor can create a very simple document like this that everyone can check copy, but what is sometimes the difficult? Create something simple is real. And the people like more knife document, knife PowerPoint, and knife that it is. When I learned this, I learned from Luxottica, the vacuum self that teach me exactly here. I don't do special presentation. I build up Luxottica. How I build up a Luxottica? I build up Luxottica with 3 simple points. And the same goes for Caprotti in Esselunga. So sharing the what we are learning, like alumni, like this seminar, is something that make our life and the world different or better.
About this, what are your plans for the future now? So are you going to launch an official community or association to share best practices over time to address global challenges, emergencies?
No, okay, no. I think, well, no. For me, it's more than enough. Okay, I did a lot of things.
Okay.
One of the projects that I'm working a lot is the Job Creation Index. Is an index that we launch in order to, in the sustainability index that basically doesn't only measure the CO2 something, but also if we create a job or not. So my free time will be dedicated like the and as soon as possible to the alumni supply chain club, that is opportunity to learn each other and also now to see a lot of very good friends.
Okay. We have a question. Christina says, in the best practices, there is no consideration about gender. Do you think that we should consider this aspect? Or?
Yes, as you probably both of you know, I study gender equality and the effect of gender inequality in business context. So when you design something, you also should consider the gender of the person, because if you disregard this aspect, something important is disregarded, because women and men are different not only in their behavior, but also in their biological characteristics. So I was just thinking about this aspect while you were presenting the best practice.
We will learn from this. Good idea.
Okay, because for sure logistics is a male-dominated industry, but probably this is something we should consider. I don't know, Claudia, what do you think about?
Yes, maybe we should. Yeah, we can consider that. I think that the best practices as they are now apply to, I mean, both the male and female employees and managers, but maybe we can dive deeper and see the relationship, if there is a relationship between the gender of, for example, the decision makers and the implementation of these kind of practices, or I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. No, exactly. Okay. Good point.
Thank you very much.
Another question from the participants. Question about engagement and communication with employees on the shop floor. How to manage that effectively given the remote work, the social distance, and the separated shift?
Okay, allora, this is the most important point. Obviously, if you have a good leadership and you manage well the person, they will follow you. The issue is if you have to start in this situation. So it's really an opportunity. The key point in my little experience is we would like to do this to save yourself and your family. Instead, if you just say you start in a different perspective, okay, we want to save the company, so you are obliged to come to work and then you have to put the mask, is more critical. Then the second is involve them as much as possible in the implementation. Basically, in some plant, they say, Luca, we would like to involve them in the design. Okay, I say, you can't exactly do, you have 1 day, 8 hours. Tomorrow, if you can make the design, you can do. If not, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, they will be involved in the implementation. So obviously, if they are involved in the design, is better, but in this case, the time is all. And involve as much as possible in the activity. So, for example, when in one situation we have set up, this was more the production that logistic. We say how we can split the people between the 3 shift. And then also we also start exactly when we will reduce the 3rd shift. The people was amazing. The people say we have to shift the risk according to the people. And then I say, what means? And they say, we would like to create a safe shift for the people who has kids and are the only income of the family. But this was coming from the people, and this also they decide this ship will be run during the night, so they will not have contact with external. So more involved, more the right part of the character is coming from. This was exactly stage. I also will say, oh, this is legal or not, but then they say that it's coming from the people. They decide exactly how to split between them. So more also you involve exactly the union, more you are working this exactly together. So looking part by part and say if we have something different, we just update this. And also the point is that in this moment every company has to protect to pay the wage. To pay the wage is a privilege. When I say exactly, not all my friends has received a wage end of March. I have some friends that are working in some small activity and really they didn't receive. So it's also a way to protect yourself. So more you work, obviously, if it's a remote, sometime needs that in some decision you should be there. You cannot decide everything from your home and just leave the people working in the warehouse. You should be there. You should be there with all the equipment. You should be there to lead. Obviously, there is not the need to be for a long time, because if not, you put a risk to them and to yourself. Working in a remote environment, I don't know. I think that my direct report, one is in France, one is in Houston, one is in Singapore, one is in London. So I work 90% of my time in remote generally, and plus I travel a lot. What is changed that is around 3 weeks, 1 month that I have not taken 4 flights as every week. And this is something challenging, but also very interesting because I have the opportunity to stay with my kids that it never happened. Working from home is different. Yes, sometimes I did a call this morning with Singapore. is a very smart supply chain director for Asia. He has 3 kids, 2, 3, and 4. And really, it was crazy, the call. It was absolutely crazy. But this can happen. He was very embarrassed to say me, Luca, sorry. And then say, okay, this is new life. And we have exactly to just survive. So a sort of moment to say, I will take a coffee. You take the kids, and then in 5 minutes we come back. But this, if you approach this in the right way, is an opportunity. This call with Jose this morning, after you just try to imagine, he was with the 3 kids crazy. And exactly say, I take exactly say, now take a coffee, you take your kids, and then we come back. The relationship with Jose now is 10 times better than it was yesterday.
We have another question. As far as you know, the issue of security in the logistics and supply chain is being addressed with the same attention in other countries. Which countries do you find, in which countries do you find the most attention?
The virus was coming from China, it just coming to Europe and just moving to US. So in China or Singapore or Thailand, they are very, very, very under control. I went in Singapore 1 month and a half ago, and really all the people in the street was with the mask. It was very strange. There was one person that was running, and you know what happened? That all the people from the office started to launch him everything, from bottle to everything. The police arrived, and but it was faster the ambulance and bring him away. So every culture has his special way. Exactly. So there is very, very advanced. When we move to Europe, is moving, but my office, I manage an office of around 200 people. I start a virtual office with everyone in virtual office now 4 weeks ago, exactly 4 weeks ago. My office in London started to go virtual just 2 weeks and a half ago. In US, we just discussed in one R&D office this week they would like to come back to work. So more close they are to the virus, more there is the sensitivity. We have a privilege. We are in the center of the virus. So we have seen the people die. Most of the people in this call has someone who died, or the mother or the father. So we have a also obligation. That is what the China forget to give with us. To just advise your people outside Europe, outside US, and just say these are serious. People will die. If you don't apply in your warehouse, more people will die. This is part of humankind and what China has 100% missed with us.
I think this is related to the other question we have. Considering this as a point of discontinuity in the global supply chain ecosystem, do you think there are opportunities for Italy to strengthen its position in this area? If yes, which are the actions to be taken to get this opportunity?
For sure, okay, for example, the fashion industry is very, very huge affected, or also the district in close to Miranda, the medical device is reacting very well, or a lot of industry like in Bresciano, they are working. The big advantage is that when our culture is a culture that is able to react. So I think that a lot of culture are able to respect procedure, to make standard, and also they are sometimes more efficient. Instead, we are better in doing something special. So in this environment, there is opportunity to do something special. It will be recover. It will be a new opportunity. It be it will be how fast we will recover. And also because we are in the middle, so we are the second one. China is starting to recover in this moment. My order in China are very, 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 very strong. So we have an opportunity to run. Obviously, our disadvantage is the public debt. That is something that in this moment is not advantage. But I always struggle to say that we can make the difference, and Alunni Polimi for this initiative make the difference, and you can make more. We are not in a standard environment. More opportunity we have. We have opportunity to die, to close our activity, but to become stronger. When I say big acquisition, yes, it's a time of good acquisition. 30% less discount every company in the market. So people regarding this can cry or can say exactly to become stronger. Also, I understand that there are a lot of people. I have a lot of people that are not working in an active way because there are not really. This is the time where you strengthen your bond, when you can do a lot for free. Also, edX, for example, is increase your competence, increase your knowledge, increase your connection. So it's really a huge, huge opportunity for yourself. Because after who will win? The people who has strong experience, who try, and who didn't sleep in this period. Yeah. Okay. Meantime, a good note that because everyone is looking there that my wife bring, we have had less than 3,000 new people infected, so 2,900. That is a good data. It's due to the logistic procedure. I'm joking.
Are there any other questions?
Now, meantime, thanks to all the people. I have seen really a lot of people who make a big contribution to this document, from Marco to Paolo, from Giovanni. I have seen the name, and really all the alumni that really was the backbone, and also Christina, yourself, to have driven so strong this initiative during the night and the.
Yes, I used to work a lot during the night, but I think this is a really worthy initiative, and I think it will be great if we can keep this initiative alive by continuing, for instance, to advance the document and to update it as the emergency evolve. And you say that the data are reassuring. You're right, but one big problem we have, in my opinion, in this period is to have good measures, good measurement, because up to now we still struggle with finding a good measure of this, how the virus is diffusing. And so I think that another line we can add to our best practice is to try to tell people in logistics to monitor the evolution of the virus in their factories or in their warehouses. I think that also this issue is it's something which is important. For instance, we use a lot, everybody use a lot e-commerce in this period, and I was wondering whether I think that probably these people that do the home delivery have a higher probability to be infected with respect to myself that stay at home every day. So it will be nice if this company can collect and then share reliable data, because one of the problems in this epidemic, in my humble opinion, is the lack of really reliable measure of what is going on. For sure, there is improving trend, but in order to make a decision, we need to have, in my opinion, better data.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that this initiative demonstrated that combining also different experts and competencies is crucial to generate value that then can be used for the benefit of the society and companies, and also the approach that you mentioned of shared and open knowledge is key for letting these happening. So I was so pleased to participate in this webinar, because it is within this approach of open knowledge, sharing of best practices, and I think it was really, really important.
Yes, and we are pleased that you shared, you both shared our knowledge with us. Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting. I mean, Luca has an incredible knowledge from the real world. He has a lot of experience to share with us. So thank you, Luca, for putting this experience at disposal of everybody. And also thank you, Claudia. It was a really, really high level debate. Thank you very much. So I was wondering whether there is any other question from the floor, or otherwise we can finish here. And we had a sizable number of participants. So I mean, I'm very happy about this webinar. And the registration, Valentina, is this true, will be available for everybody. So I think that we will put the registration at disposal of everybody very soon. And so if there is no other question from the floor, and if Claudia, Luca, and Valentina agree, we can close here. And thank you very much to all the participants.
I just wanted to thank again everyone for attending this webinar, and thank you for Luca and the organizers and everyone. It was my pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.